Hello, crypto enthusiasts. It's Sunday, September 23rd. We've got some altcoins here as well. We're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. Then we're going to look at NEO, XLM, ICX, Nano, ZRX, XMR, and TRX. I'm looking at the wrong monitor. I'm supposed to move it over to put it in front of me so that you can look into my eyes deeply as I speak to you, and it's more personable, and we feel more connected. So we'll start off with Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, and Bitcoin's forming that equilibrium pattern that we've been watching at this point for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we're going to be looking for a break sometime in the next couple of weeks, likely early October, but it could happen really at any point at this point. So a lot of people are talking and asking about stop buys. Where would you be putting a stop buy if you wanted to get a piece of this action and don't want to miss a bull break? There's a number of instances, a number of factors that are going to be factored in to whether or not I use a stop buy. Number one, how much distance do the bulls have to travel before we break resistance? The last thing I want to do is be stop bought into a position after the bulls have already run 10% in the last 2 hours, let's say. Number two, a factor is, when's the next time I'm going to be at my computer? If we're looking at the price right now, and I know I'm going to be at my computer in 10 hours, I know that if we were to break this resistance in 10 hours that I can't be watching, then again, we're going to be going over 10% in 10 hours, and I'm not going to want to be triggered into that move. I can wait for some consolidation. Number three, the amount of shorts. The larger the amount of shorts, the faster the bull break move will see follow through because shorts will have to cover as well. And then number four, if there's any news behind the move. Personally, ideal scenario, I want to see one more lower high here. I want to see continued tightening range and then a bull break, but I'm going to be patiently waiting for this trend to change in order for me to be back in heavily trading crypto and looking at the weekly trend to change. So where we stand right now, that's not close to happening just yet, but every single day we're getting closer and closer, and I'm certainly paying very close attention at this point. Daily inside bar is forming today. Pretty healthy consolidation. At this point, it's one of those scenarios where best case scenario, we see sideways trading and continuation, and worst case scenario, we need to pull back and form a higher low. At this point, the bears aren't coming up with anywhere near enough volume to scare the bulls. We're going to look to backtest and hold these exponential moving averages and try and see some follow through. And again, the volume is just fine for the bulls. Declining bear volume, healthy consolidation at this point. Bitcoin is still grinding this exponential moving average on the 4 hour, this 12 period here, and we are close to losing it. But really the most important level for me is down here at 66.28. If we lose 66.28 support, that is the break, that's breaking the low of the consolidation, and that gives us a 4 hour very clear lower high and then lower low, which tells us further daily consolidation is coming and we need to pull back and establish that higher low. Anything above 61.06 is a higher low. We've seen a very strong move. We went straight from 61.06 essentially to 68.23. That's over 10% over just a span of 4 days or so. So looking for some healthy consolidation on the daily. So while it would not be a red flag to lose this support on the 4 hour time frame, it would let us know that consolidation is going to take a bit longer to play out. Coming from that video we made yesterday, pointing out how clear bear breaks were leading to bulls buying the dip, and some people posing some interesting hypotheses that potentially it's the same bot triggering stop losses and then scooping them up. That's absolutely a potential as well. Again, these little details about what's going on, we're not going to ever know the answer, so I don't like to spend a lot of time speculating on things we're never going to know the answer for. It's good to ponder and, get your mind space wrapped around it, but in terms of spending a lot of time and debating and all that, it's definitely not a good resource or a good waste of, or good way to spend your time is what I'm trying to say. So, at this point, healthy sideways consolidation. Tonight, we're either going to lose this support level and look to daily consolidation, or we're going to hold it and look for this range to continue to tighten into tomorrow morning. So, Ethereum is seeing some similar action. First, I want to point out the weekly time frame for Ethereum, people highlighting the amount of volume. Again, you always want to look at dollar volume, not coin volume. So, people look at, some of these altcoins that have their individual pumps and say, most coins traded on whatever exchange, when in reality, the coin's worth, pennies. So if you did the dollar volume, it's not that significant. So here for ETH, it's significant volume, but Bitcoin's weekly volume is still a good bit higher. And what I want to point out is Ethereum has bounced 50% in the last 2 weeks. And you look at this weekly chart and it looks like it hasn't done anything. So that's just a note that when we do change trends, these gains are going to rack up fairly quickly from the lows where we do bounce from. And at this point, we're nowhere near changing a trend on Ethereum. It's been a nice bounce, but It's just clear lower highs at this point. And honestly, it could be a potential bear flag as far as the weekly time frame is concerned. If we break bearish on Bitcoin, fall below 57.77, the low that we've seen this year, then we're going to look for Ethereum to potentially be a bear flag on the weekly. So don't lose sight that that is still a possibility. The 4-hour time frame for Ethereum is also holding the exponential moving average similar to Bitcoin. We are watching the high, the low of consolidation, the lower high. There's a higher low in there. So support of 237.10 and 232.67. We're a good bit above the low of consolidation at this point, and resistance is 249.79 and 255. So again, another tightening range on the 4-hour time frame. We're either going to lose exponential supports and come down to test the lows, or the bulls are going to see continuation to start this coming week. So things still tight. Multiple 4-hour inside bars are going to break here on Ethereum, probably this candlestick, and we'll see which direction that break does occur. So you can see I'm only zooming into the 4-hour time frame at this point, because when I get down to the 4-hour on these coins, that's when it's most clear to me, and that's the best levels to be watching in my opinion. So everybody's saying, why does it matter that Ripple ran so hard? And to me it matters because it's showing the crypto space, it's reminding them, look at how fast these gains can come out of nowhere. And we saw a bull move that literally erased, let's see, back in May we were at these levels, it literally erased 4 months of downside in just about 2 days of action. So obviously that's very significant. It has changed the trend on the weekly time frame. In order to confirm the trend change, we have to establish a new support level and then break the top of this bull move, 79 cents. Have to see the higher low and then continuation to confirm the trend change. This one candlestick alone is not enough to change the trend. It's enough to give the bulls good odds to change that trend, but it's not enough to do it on its own. Inside bar forming on the daily time frame as volume continues to drop off, and we are very tight on the 4-hour time frame. It's tighter than either of the two equilibriums we just looked at, and we've got our tightening range right now. I would be looking at still support of 53.5 and resistance of 60 cents. So that's the range to be watching. Still holding 4-hour exponential support, same as Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's either a break of the lower highs and we're heading back into the mid 60s, or a breakdown to test the low of consolidation at this point, 492. Again, there is no dump at this point. People talking pump and dump. There is no bear volume, and there is no dump yet. We can break bearish, absolutely, and if we do, we will see volume pick up with it, but we're not seeing that at this point right now for Ripple, which is a good sign for those bulls at this point. So for now, the altcoins that we're going to be looking at down the line are the most voted on by our members, and Neo was clearly the highest vote getter, and then everybody else on down the line. And there were a bunch that didn't make the cut, but these are the names that members are looking at. And we're going to compare, how do they compare to Bitcoin? Who's stronger than Bitcoin? Who's weaker than Bitcoin? Has anybody changed their weekly trend? Are there names that are coming off of a lower low and have further to change their trend like Ethereum? Or do they have a higher low like Bitcoin that they're trying to change the trend with? So that's how we're going to be looking at each individual name, starting with the weekly. So for Neo, I can see that we have our low, high of the bounce, which was just a lower high in the downtrend, and the bulls did pull off a higher low here, have to break 25.30 to change this weekly trend and give us this little higher low and then shift in momentum, and then we'll be watching weekly exponential resistances from there. A lot of coins still have the weekly exponential resistances to be watching, and Neo is one of them. But look at the volume. Declining volume for the second candlestick of consolidation, now an increase in bull volume. So the next 2 weeks are going to be telling. We're either going to break the trend and see the bulls show up, or this bounce is going to fade. The exponential resistances are slowly going to drop down and hit the price and knock it back down. And again, it's probably the break of the weekly equilibrium on Bitcoin that's going to dictate how altcoins that have weekly charts looking like this, how they are going to break as well. So here's the daily chart. We did see a nice move breaking the lower high pattern, but keep in mind, well, actually it did come from a double bottom, 16.15 and 16.18. So a double bottom and then a bull break. And right now we're seeing a similar 4-hour pattern, but it did break to a higher high. So that's notable comparing to Bitcoin, and Litecoin also did it as well. We're not going to look at Litecoin here, but in the 4-hour time frame, just like Neo, it did head to a higher high. So now we're looking for a higher low, anything above 1853. You can see the bulls have more space to work with regards to the exponential support, as well as more space to work with before we break the 4-hour uptrend. So the bulls are still healthy at this point. Again, declining bear volume on consolidation. We're looking to establish a higher low. When the hourly trend changes, we're going to be looking for the bulls to head back up and potential for an equilibrium because the size of the pullback, 2080 down to 1952. That's pretty significant. That's over 5% from the high to this current low of consolidation. So we could very easily, when the bulls do show up and give us that 4-hour higher low, we very easily could form a lower high and see a tightening range form here again, like it did this last time around before that bull break. So again, the hourly time frame needs to change the trend. Really, we need to see it first on the 15-minute, break the lower highs, form a higher low and a higher high, and that will be the first signal that our 4-hour higher low support has formed at that point. So NEO looking pretty good on the short term because we did get that break and follow through. And let's see if Bitcoin does get follow through and is able to break to higher highs as well. Let's see if a name like NEO can head back towards its highs, keeping that 4-hour higher low pattern. XLM USDT, this is on Binance. And the weekly chart is obviously making a big move, and we're going to be watching for the potential of a lower high being set. And I'll go through really quickly at the end of this video for potential signals that the bears are looking for, but pretty much at this point, it's looking for a loss of the 4-hour higher lows. You can make a bearish entry on the loss of the 4-hour higher lows for a potential swing trade and look for a stop out if we head to continuation and head to higher highs on whatever individual coin it is. So just for NEO as an example, let's say we set a higher low right here at 1952, which is not likely yet, but let's say we did, and we headed back up and we moved up to 2020. I can then say, all right, I'll make a bearish entry if we lose the 4-hour higher lows, and then if we break the 4-hour lower highs, I will exit that bearish entry. And then ideally, we get enough follow through that we can put our stop loss to break even and hope that the daily chart is going to see multiple days of consolidation from there. Just keeping in mind that we're going to have to see increases in bear volume for the bears to get follow through on any entries up at these levels, because right now it is still healthy and it is still favoring the bulls in the short term until those support levels are lost. So if we lose those 4-hour higher lows with a solid amount of bear volume, that's a potential entry for bears to be looking at. Otherwise, if you're looking at these moves that run like XLM USD, you're looking for climaxes. So on the 5-minute time frame, we saw Ripple's volume climax, and look at every single volume climax on the 5-minute time frame. It precedes consolidation, and that allows you to either take profit or set a protective stop loss level. And if you had set a stop at break even or a small loss, you would have got stopped out once, but you would have nailed the second one. And again, it's the volume climaxes twice signaling the top and leading to pullback. So as far as the weekly chart goes for XLM, we are going to be looking for a lower high compared to the all-time high, and that was up at 35 cents. So anything under that will be a lower high, and we'll look for an equilibrium play. Again, just because of where we stand, in order to see a bull break, we're going to need pretty much another 28% move or something like that. It's possible. Keep an eye on the daily chart. We've obviously seen some big moves in the past few days. It is on par with Ripple in terms of the size of this move. Again, that helps the cryptocurrency space. Any individual coin that you see that makes this kind of move, and again, takes back months of downside instantly, that's going to add some sentiment shifting in the cryptocurrency space. It's going to cause people to start moving funds back over, and it's going to have people prepared for the potential of the bulls showing up. So the 4-hour time frame, healthy consolidation. The last one formed a higher low down here at 231. Anything above 231 will maintain a higher low. Exponential support was pretty much our guide for that last higher low being found. And we're going to look for it again here. Inside bars on the 4-hour are currently forming. Declining bear volume on the consolidation. This is still a very healthy chart overall, and we'll see how long the bulls can keep up this 4-hour uptrend, which they currently have been doing a good job of doing so. So XLM is definitely up there in terms of Ripple, with names that have seen significant follow through on the daily and weekly time frame in this past week. And they're a part of that shift in sentiment just a bit for people now, keeping an eye on the cryptocurrency space a bit more significantly. So ICX USDT also on Binance. There's our low, high of the bounce, which was just a lower high in the downtrend. Higher low, have to see a bull break of 9955, might as well call it $1. Have to bull break $1 to change this weekly trend. Still a lot of work to do, and we could stay within this weekly equilibrium for another 3 or 4 weeks even. So there's no immediate break coming here. Daily inside bar forming. Anything above 558 is a higher low on the daily time frame, and healthy 4-hour consolidation where it's a very similar pattern to Bitcoin, just grinding up these exponential supports, trying to make its way back towards the recent high. These are a couple support levels to be watching. 677, 6705, and then 64. So those are 4-hour higherly lows. And again, just like everybody else in the beginning that we looked at, we're either going to lose these 4-hour higher lows and lose exponential support tonight, or the bulls are going to head back up towards the recent highs and test that resistance. Nano BTC. So the weekly time frame here is also trying to change the trend, a little bit different because it's paired to Bitcoin and not the dollar in this chart. So we got our higher low on the weekly now. That's down at 2567, must hold, and the bulls must break 3 or make that 567 in order to change this weekly trend. It's another one that we could trade within this weekly range for a month, easy, depending on what the rest of the market is doing. Daily time frame also showing a tightening range. So we have the low before the bounce, the high of the bounce, higher low, excuse me, lower high, and the bulls are trying to form a higher low compared to 3348. So a nice tightening daily pattern to be watching. And if we can see a bottom fishing entry here and a stop below 3348, that's a potential bull entry. Otherwise, bears are going to be patiently waiting for either a break of 3348 to make a bear entry on, or waiting for potentially a lower high and to use 408 as a stop level if we get closer to that level on a bounce, staying within the tightening range. So that's another tight pattern to be watching. I like this daily chart. This is one of the ones where, I've been showing the 4-hour time frames for everything, but this one's more clear on the daily chart because it has this tightening range. ZRXBTC. So another one where the weekly time frame is coming off of a fresh low. So we're not going to change this weekly trend anytime soon. Even if Bitcoin breaks the lower highs, it's still going to have work to do for the higher low and higher high confirmation because we don't have any weekly higher lows to be going off of. This bounce is coming just from that low. So another one that's being paired to Bitcoin. We do have a trend change on the daily chart, but this kind of contained move always has me cautious of a longer term pattern or a longer term time frame bear flag. The one thing that would say, all right, it's probably not a bear flag, is this bull volume right here. That's great bull volume on the continuation. Inside bar did get a bull break today, so the bulls are still sticking around. But just be aware that we are watching this weekly chart and we need a bit more confidence because this is just the initial bounce from the low after multiple months of downside. So the 4-hour time frame, again, similar to Bitcoin in the sense that we are still grinding these exponential supports and we're trying to make our way back up to the recent high with a couple higher lows to be watching. 9222 and then 8933 are two support levels with resistance of 9679 on up to 1060. So another 4-hour pattern, very similar to everybody else. Xrm Usd, weekly time frame has a little bit more development going on. So we have our low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low is 9639. Bulls have to break 142.71 to change this weekly trend. Here's another one where we've been grinding against these exponential resistances for a couple months at this point, and the bulls really want to get over those levels and turn them back into support. The daily chart, nice little follow through, and anything on the daily above 103.19 will maintain higher lows, and we're trying to make our way back up to that 142.71 level. So the 4-hour time frame consolidating a bit and losing the exponential support on increasing bear volume. That's notable. We have not lost the uptrend just yet. This is the kind of move where because of that bear volume, I might be looking to make a bearish entry on a lower high here. Let's say we make a bull move up to 125, make a bearish entry as long as it's low bull volume, bearish entry at 125, stop loss if we break 128.70, and we'll see if we set that lower high and then fall back down because that would be our bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern with our left shoulder head. If we get that weak bounce with low bull volume and then the break of the higher lows is your head and shoulders pattern playing out. So that's worth watching. And again, that volume is the reason that I would be looking, if that's healthy, low volume, I'd say, oh, that's just a 4-hour higher low. Bulls are in full control. But because it's notable increasing volume and we have not seen that on these other individual names, that stands out to me as a bit more bearish than what the other names have been showing us. Last, we'll wrap it up here with TRX USDT. Weekly time frame's a bit closer to a trend change here than other names. Low, high of the bounce, higher low, and we got close. 279, we got up to 264, and the daily time frame is going to give us more details. Multiple inside bars, tightening range, healthy consolidation at this point. Let's see if these bulls can turn around this trend. This is another one that's looking pretty good. Keep an eye on TRX. I'd say Ripple, XLM, and now TRX are standing out to me for these bulls. And again, it's the increasing bull volume. It's the healthy consolidation. The 4-hour chart is similar to Bitcoin, but the daily chart is a bit different. So here's our high of the bounce, low of the pullback, lower high, trying to form a higher low right now. It's not officially set yet. If we break these inside bars bullish, we'll say, all right, our 4-hour higher low is clear. But if we break them bearish, it's still the same period of pullback, and we're still going to be looking for a higher low compared to 2229. So this is an instance where we're not sure if our higher low has formed just yet. It depends on how we break from this tightening range, which is tight if you look on the hourly and zoom in a bit. So still patiently waiting for the break of this inside bar to see if our new higher low is established yet or not. But resistance is 2485 followed by 264. And right now support is 231 and 2229. So keep an eye on TRX on the daily and how these daily inside bars do break, because the weekly trend change is closer on TRX than it is on a bunch of names that we just looked at. XLM, weekly trend change is going to be assumed. Because of the size of that bull move, we will just need a higher low and then confirmation of that trend change. And of course, Ripple, same thing. It's already made a clear bull break on the weekly, but we need that higher low and continuation to confirm the follow through. Otherwise, those people that are saying this is just a pump and dump will be right. If we can't break the top of these levels sometime in the next few weeks, then there's no follow through. And it was just a short-term pump that's going to just slowly fade. So these three names we have to be watching closely. And pretty much the scenario where we would get continuation, in my opinion, is going to be if Bitcoin were to break its weekly downtrend. Because let's say over the next 3 weeks, if Bitcoin does not break 7,400 and does not change the trend, it's hard to imagine these individual names, while they certainly have seen some bullish action on their own already, it's hard to imagine that we would see further bullish action from these individual names and not see Bitcoin respond enough to break 7,400. So I would anticipate that that bull break on Bitcoin would be accompanying a follow-through move on these three high flyer alts that have been making moves. And because these three alts are moving and the space as a whole is not, they're making some moves up the ladder of the market cap. I don't know what place XLM is right now. I believe I read maybe they're up to 5th place in terms of total market cap. But when the other coins aren't moving and they're flying, they're making leaps and bounds. We know Ripple went to number 2 for a while. Not sure if it's still there. That's the kind of thing that I'm not checking in on every day. It's important, you know, if you check in once a week or once a month and get longer term perspective. But, you know, for a while, EOS was running the market very short term, and that didn't last long. So we have to make sure that these trends are, you know, long lasting before we start to attribute paying a lot of attention to them. So if Ripple just fades for the next, 2 months, well, who cares about Ripple anymore? But if it keeps leading the Bitcoin market, it's going to be a major player in 2019. So it's going to be a significant difference. So here at the end of the video, we've got no more Iceland for now. I'll make some more Iceland to start this next week. We got to wait for the MJ videos to catch up because they don't have weekend videos like crypto does. But we got some more Occupy content. This is from, oh man, where was this? This might be Occupy Memphis in Tennessee. Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head. And it's just a little clip of a march we had to Wells Fargo. And I was trying to figure out how to pause. I'm no video editor, obviously. And I was trying to figure out how to pause the video so you could read my sign. And it ended up just going slow-mo. And I thought it was funny, so I'm going to leave it. And the sign is just essentially just pointing out the absurd the absurd compensation that CEOs of companies that almost ran the world into, a financial collapse were still receiving right after they did it. And of course, the money that they got, the bailout money from the Federal Reserve, the things that they spent it on, just absolutely, when you read that, it's astounding that they were able to stay in power and nobody went to jail and nobody got fired. And it's just, again, it's just the public with their head in the sand. And I feel a lot of it has to do with comfortability. I say this a lot when I have discussions about it. But if everybody's got their cell phone and their car and, their social media, they're comfortable enough to not be in the street. And when you see these uprisings, the Middle Eastern uprising that we had, the Egypt uprising, and even South Korea did it with putting their, I believe it's president is the title, but recognizing corruption and throwing them out. They go into the streets and they stay there until they get what they want. And we don't see that in the US. Obviously, with the Occupy movement, we didn't see that. And it is due to comfortability, in my opinion. And obviously, you can't just up and leave everything. Well, that's really what it boils down to. If it's bad enough in your country that it's worth up and leaving everything, stopping going to work, to be in the street and to not leave the street, that's a significantly different standpoint or breaking point that people have. Whereas again, people in the US say, well, I don't want to lose my job and I got to keep my paycheck. And again, it's comfortable enough to continue doing things in the status quo in the way that they have been. So I hope you all have a good weekend and we'll get back with Iceland action to start this coming week. Do good things. See you soon.
I don't want to loan. I don't want to borrow. Give me back my money. Leave it Wells Fargo. I don't want to loan. I don't want to borrow. Give me